You walk in and like $5 for 5 tastes, and you're like, hi, I'm Chris.
Yeah.
Variability in terroir
yeah.
is so significant. Like this little sweet rancher lady, but then packs an AK-47 in her trunk, you know,
yes.
and then
I'm sorry, man. Were you saying something?
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you.
My eyes are starting to kind of like. You've been exposed.
I'll give you all the secret sauce if you want.
Keep watching, guys.
If you watch this whole thing, then thank you.
Yeah.
The Liquid Culture.
What's up, everybody? This is Mitchell Chirac back here with another episode of The Liquid Culture. Pretty special episode today, actually. I'm here with Chris.
Brundrett.
Yeah, man, absolutely. One of our neighbors down here in the Hill Country. Chris is the Chris half of the William Chris Vineyards here in High, Texas. So, Chris, say what's up, man.
How you guys doing? Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, brother. Thanks for taking some time.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, we'll kind of jump right into it, but guys, you know, this is a video that we're shooting here as part of my kind of Texas wine takeover for the show for this month. So, Chris, if you just want to kind of, I mean, actually, why don't we pour the first wine? I don't know where you want to start.
Let's start with a little Mourvedre.
Let's do it.
Vineyards. And if you haven't drank out of this Gabriel glass, I don't know. We're switching all of our wine club member tastings to this Gabriel glass. I love it.
Are they like easy to clean and keep clean?
They are. They're pretty tough, and I don't know. I highly recommend it. We're gonna start selling them too. I hate to plug Gabriel glass, but
no, man, go for it.
Yeah,
go for it.
I took it.
It's a great shape, really good for. I mean, I'm always looking for the best like tasting glass. You know, there's some you get the like big ass glass for drinking your cabs at home and stuff like that, and all these different sizes and shapes. But I'm always looking for the perfect like universal glass that's good for everything.
We've got great glasses here at the winery. I mean, that's something that we have believed very strongly in since day one is experience, and obviously glass is a big part of that. And as soon as I tried these, we were in love, and unfortunately they're pretty expensive, but
yeah,
totally worth it.
for sure.
Unfortunately, it's one of those like you get to experience it before you know.
Right. Oh yeah.
And you're like, son of a bitch.
Oh man. Okay, but we have to.
Yeah. But they'll look for these. They'll be out. You can come experience them at the taste fair.
Hell yeah, dude.
So.
Cool. Well, so just kind of give a little background. I'm sure a lot of people watching, they're probably somewhat familiar with the Texas wine industry, and you guys are easily one of the biggest names in the Texas wine industry. So when did you start? How many cases did you start with, and how many cases are you producing now?
Oh man, well, I started really, I think it goes back to maybe 2004 or 2004. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in college and I was working in the restaurant business. I was like I love to call it a wager, running restaurants and like putting myself through college. And I was never a bad student, but I was never a great student. I was
not a bad one, but not a particularly good one.
No. I was just barely good enough to not get kicked out.
Okay,
so that works. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And like, my mom drank a glass of White Zinfandel every third night or something like that out of the same friggin' bottle that she had in her. I mean, like, they're not anti-alcohol teetotalers or anything, but they weren't big wine drinkers, and
sure.
but always very big into food. Like,
yeah.
My mother was an amazing cook and like really brought that connection at an early age. But during college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had dropped out of the United States Merchant Marine Academy playing football, and like, I wouldn't say I was a lost puppy. I don't know who isn't a lost puppy at 18, 19, but anyways, loved food, was working in the restaurant business, and had somebody told me there was wine in the Hill Country, and I came out to the Hill Country, and I wasn't even 21 yet, and I was like kind of running in and out of a couple of wineries, and the guy kind of showed me around, and really like the light bulb went off, and it was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Yeah. And it really was, and I'm so thankful for that, because I see people every day that they don't know what they want to do, and they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and they still like haven't had that light bulb. And it was that moment I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to grow grapes and make wine and share it, and share with people what different areas of the world taste like. And anyways, got out of college, and I was headed to California. And at the last minute, I had a couple job offers. Like, I remember calling my wife and I was like, babe, they offered us $50,000 a year. Like, we're gonna be rich. We're gonna live in Napa. Yes! And you start looking at it, you're like, whoa, well, maybe not.
Yeah, right.
And I took another job down the road in Texas. It was a job I interned at, and was fortunate enough to like got thrown the keys, and it was like, hey, just go nuts. And it was a guy that just opened up or just bought a winery, and so green behind the ears, but we really did a phenomenal job. Not me, we had a couple of other folks that came involved shortly after I did, and we really did a good job. And I was fortunate enough to meet my business partner now, Bill Blackman. And I was really kind of disappointed with the Texas wine industry at that time. I mean, we're talking about 2007. I thought I made a mistake. There wasn't a lot of people that I think genuinely put the vineyard first.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, we're gonna head to California or Oregon or Washington, and I was looking at it, and I thought I made a big mistake. And it wasn't until I met Bill Blackman and wandered into the Granite Hill Vineyards and saw what he was doing and saw his passion. And was like, no, this guy knows his shit. Yeah. And this is who I want to be. This is who I want to be associated with. And really kind of stopped there. It's like in awe of him. But then 6 months later, 5 months later, we met, and kind of a crazy happening at a bar.
Yeah, I think I watched the video on y'all's website where Bill asked you if you like vodka. All right, well, let's have a couple martinis and talk.
William Chris was born. Yeah, it wasn't quite like that. Like we started firing each other up, man, and like, I mean, it was really fate. I mean, Bill and I are like yin and yang, and like, man, William Chris would definitely not be what it is now without Bill. I mean, like, he's such a huge influence. There's nobody in the state of Texas that has the experience that he does in farming and making wine, and his eye and his palate, and really like his ability to farm is really incredible. And I kind of pinch myself every day that he saw a spark in this then 25-year-old kid that had a lot of piss and vinegar, but I don't know about what else.
Right. Well, I saw something that a few years later,
Well, thank God I had that kind of front of house experience, and I brought a lot of like kind of new wave technology, or just the way of thinking of things, and I was definitely not an amazing winemaker 10 years ago. I don't know if I would say that about me now. Yeah. But he really like believed in me, and gave me like the nuggets of knowledge that we needed to get started and build upon. And I feel like, we've just been putting rungs up on a ladder so we can keep on climbing. And not only for us, but our whole team here. I mean, we're 62 families now. Yeah. But we started in 2008. It was really...
did you open with wines from a 2008 vintage, or...
No, we're not like the rest of the Texas wines.
Yeah, right, yeah. So you opened the tasting room in 08.
No. We started making wine in 08.
You started making wine, okay.
We didn't actually open the tasting room until April, I believe, of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And really the 2008 vintage, I was like, I was still working down the road, and I helped Bill pick, he was just like, hey, do you want to come out and harvest? And I drove a tractor and rode bins and like helped him punch down, because I was working right down the road, because we made the first vintage at Perdinal Cellars. But it was his vintage. I mean, like, William Chris wasn't anything then. I mean, he was just like, man, I'm making some wine, and you're my buddy, hanging out, and we'll
do something with it eventually, but let's make this wine.
And then after harvest in early 2009 is when we really jumped off the cliff together. We went to Unified and hung out. He like really introduced me to some really cool people, and who are still some of my mentors today. And we decided to jump off the cliff together. And when I say that, it was John Fetzer, and we were sitting on the top of like this mountain, and we were just talking about all the cool things and cool aspects of Texas wine and what it could be. And he looks at us and he's like, so when are you guys going to quit your jobs and like start your own place? And we're like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we couldn't do that. And he's like, no, it's all you guys talk about. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And we were driving back to the hotel that night, and we were like, fuck it, man, we got to do it.
Do it.
Like, we're in. Like, this is what we have to do.
No doubt.
And we came back home and like changed, like everything changed from then on, and it was all we ever thought about. And started, we made the 2009 vintage together, and then just I think we upped our production, maybe doubled it to like 800 cases.
Nice.
Yeah.
A big double.
We're going big
double
time,
down, man.
big
Double
time.
down.
Which, hey, you know what? Like, I mean, I was saying people now are like, man, I'm making 1,200 cases, a lot of wine.
Right.
So they're like, that's a good lick. So don't,
for sure.
Like there's, and we really just kept on growing and growing and growing. And I think, William Chris Vineyards is a brand now within kind of William Chris Wine Company, and so we have another brand called Skeleton Key, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's a whole separate. Like,
Yeah.
that's not like William Chris Skeleton Key. Is that? That's
Well,
like
it's William Chris Skeleton Key, but
Okay.
it's more of an outward-facing brand. So,
Okay.
we only make 25,000 cases for William Chris now, William Chris Vineyards. But as a company, we make a little bit more than that. So,
Well, and then there's I guess Sway Rosé. What else?
Sway
would be
Rosé
under
is
that?
yeah. Well, that's a side project between Andrew Sides and I,
Right.
and Anthony Harville, our COO. So we have a little side company.
Killer canned rosé. If
The best in the world.
no, I mean literally, and it's dangerous because it comes in these cans that are essentially half a bottle of wine. I think. Well, y'all used to do them in the small, but they're the bigger cans now, aren't
We
they?
do both, the 375, which is literally a half a bottle, and if you smoke one of those and then decide to open up another one,
Dangerous.
Like you're gonna be slowed down. And I don't know if you know,
So dangerous.
if you've ever shotgunned a 300. I have multiple times, and it's definitely worth it.
Oh my god, just straight to the dome.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, that stuff's dangerous. Well, cool. So, so you guys have very obviously had a great deal of success from then to now. So what? I'm trying to think of how I want to. So tell me. So just briefly, what were y'all kind of focusing on, like varietal wise, like wine wise, back then?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk about this wine, and then talk about kind of what the focus is now.
Sure, absolutely. So the focus when we first opened up was Granite Hill Vineyards. That's a really beautiful vineyard. It was planted in 1994 in the Hickory Sands, right north of Fredericksburg in Willow City. That is Bill's life's work. I mean, that I think at one time was a 48-acre vineyard, and we used to farm that whole thing. I say Bill farmed that for years. Then he left that company, and then we started a vineyard management company, and then just ended up leasing. We lease the vineyard now, still to this day. And that's at that time it was Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec. We have a small experimental block of Trebbiano, and that was the real focus. That was the bulk of our
Bordeaux
program.
blends or the Bordeaux varietals and going that route. Yeah.
Bill is a huge Cab fan, which I think is we could all debate this, but Cabernet is a wonderful variety, and it grows great in the high plains. We grow a bit of it in the Texas Hill Country. It's very site specific. We have some sites that do great once out of every 3 years. We have some sites that do amazing wine every 2 out of 3 years, but it's very site specific, so we've got to be really, really cued in on that. But Bordeaux varieties were definitely our start.
The focus.
We took over the Hunter Vineyard, which is a vineyard that Bill planted in 1991, and we still farm that vineyard today, or at least lease it and manage it. Andy Timmons and his team at the Lost Straw Vineyards crew, they do all the day-to-day management of that now. It's under our guidance. We do a couple things a little bit different, but
so you can kind of dictate to them like yields and canopy.
Yeah, absolutely. But quite frankly, we work so hand in hand with the Lost Straw Vineyards team.
They kind of already know.
Yeah, but our blocks are farmed maybe a little bit different to our specifications, but it's a team effort. I mean, they know what they're doing so well, and we always put together a strategy and go after it, and we're up there all the time, so there's no surprises.
For sure.
That was our focus, and then obviously I was super interested in Mourvedre and Indy Tim. We're actually going to drink one of those wines in a little bit. But Lost Straw Mourvedre was one of the first blocks that outside of Granite Hill and Hunter that we started buying. And actually, I was committed to that block, Andy and I like worked on it while I was at another winery.
Really?
And whenever it kind of became mature, he was like, "Look, I grow grapes for you, not the winery. Like, you wanted this is your block if you want it." And back then, it was really important because it wasn't enough. You know, it was a seller's market
for sure.
And I was about to throw the towel in on Mourvedre. I mean, like after a couple of vintages, because it's such an easier grape to grow. But
well, you got that kind of late bud situation going on. I would assume the yields are pretty consistent as opposed to like something like Malbec that really kind of will vary from year to year with weather and stuff like that. Mourvedre's a little bit more consistent of a vineyard grape, right?
Sure. No, Mourvedre really is one of the most consistent varieties we've
as far as you can use the adjective consistent
in Texas.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So all right, so what do we? So which? Just so you guys know, I think we're doing 100%. We're sticking to Mourvedre here. I told Chris, I wanted to keep it kind of varietal specific, but Chris pulled some cool stuff for us to drink. So what are we drinking first?
So we're going to drink all 2017 vintages with the exception of one. So we make 7 or 8 different single vineyard Mourvedres, which we do that currently. I don't know if we'll do that forever. But Mourvedre shows where it's grown so incredibly well, which is I think why I love it. And you're about to see kind of a great example of this. 2017A was I think it's been the best vintage of my career.
Wow.
It is.
Okay.
It is. We had some of the longest ripening opportunities. A lot of times in Texas, we build sugar really, really fantastically, but we're picking what we call like ripe grapes and then still have like some physiological underripeness, and so which presents some challenges in the winery and the way we make the wine maybe like change a little bit. But 17, like we had a little bit higher alcohols, at least higher alcohols than William Chris is generally used to. Like, we don't make a whole lot of 14 plus wine in it, a little bit, but I think almost the whole vintage was 14 plus and 17, which I don't necessarily equate that to quality, higher alcohol by any means. We're not sugar mongers like some other, some winemakers, and not talking shit about them either. Like some, if it's not 25, we're not picking and stuff like that, and that's not us. Like we pick on flavors and aromatics and more flavor driven, and chemistry is secondary.
Sure.
But it's definitely a factor in the decision.
For sure.
The 17 was amazing. And this is out of Mourvedre Vineyards. So, the vineyard's probably 10 years old now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably 10 years old.
Brownfield, right?
Yeah, this is South Brownfield. And this is right off the draw, Lost Straw. So there's several different draws in the High Plains, or multiple different draws, where the water all goes to. Lost Straw is a major draw that runs through Terry County. And there's definitely some very significant profiles that come out of the draw. And what's cool is this is only maybe a mile and a half as a crow flies from Lost Straw, and a little bit deeper Amarillo Fine Sandy Loam, just a touch deeper, is probably 18 inches, where Lost Straw is a little bit shallower.
Sure. Okay.
Before it hits the limestone, but makes totally different wine. The same guys farm it. We probably pick it within a couple of days difference of each other. Sure. Like the same people prune it.
And like you said, the vineyard sites are maybe a 5-minute drive. Less than that, 5-minute drive away from each other. Yeah.
And I always laugh in the High Plains because you'll get the grower. It's like, yeah, I'm on that little ridge across the street from you. And I'm like, ridge? You're like,
what do you mean ridge?
You're like 5 inches higher than me. Ridge. New Mexico is, I can see it.
Right.
But what's crazy is there really is a lot of diversity. You have this Asian seabed, and there's a lot of diversity, and we're going to drink through a bit of that diversity today.
For sure.
And it is fantastic to see, you'll get a little emphasis of even the desert sage or the sand sage, that shows through in a couple of these vineyards, which I think is really special. So it's such a fun thing to see that diversity because it's real.
Absolutely. And especially, all the I think like you said, all of these are going to be coming from the High Plains AVA, which for those of you who might not know, the Texas AVAs, that is going to be West Texas. We are here situated in the Hill Country, which is where the bulk of your tasting rooms are. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the wineries who are down here have a nice mix. I mean, some I think are 100% High Plains fruit, some I think are 100% Hill Country fruit, but I would say the majority of them have a nice mix of Hill Country and High Plains. So all of these are coming from that High Plains AVA, and all are relatively close to each other, I guess one might say, but have pretty vastly different flavor profiles.
Absolutely. And we farm Mourvedre here on this estate too. I mean, we probably 40-ish% of our fruit comes from the Hill Country. So we have so many different amazing growers in the Hill Country, which obviously have totally different profiles, but
for sure,
but equally as special. And I think it's a blessing and a curse. We get to make wine from all these different areas, which is so fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in the wine consumer. You can take the whole country in France and put it inside the state of Texas. Yeah. Which is, again, it's kind of a curse because you're like, how can I learn all these different areas? And like we're learning them. I mean, I've been making wine here for 12 years, and it's like there's so much more to learn. I feel like, but we're getting good. It's just like,
oh well, yeah. And I think that as you can see how the quality of wine in Texas has continued to just get better and better and better. And I think that's partly to do with there's been vines have been in the ground for longer. Partly to do with more education and better winemaking techniques are coming into play. But I mean, the more that we're learning about the different terroir across the state, the more we're able to kind of, I guess exploit is never got a positive connotation to it, but for lack of a better word, exploit that terroir for what it really can kind of do best.
And we're getting, I mean, I would like to think that the older, or maybe even the wiser, I think my wife might debate that, that I get, we are, 10 years ago I felt like to make a badass wine, you take badass grapes, put it in a badass barrel, and we were making great wine there, no doubt. But the older I get, and I think the better at farming our partners are getting, the better at farming we're getting, you're starting to see, I'm starting to want to see more expression of the vineyard, which is why we're using less and less new oak, lots of large format, especially in the Rhone stuff. And it's really expressing these beautiful vineyards and what they have to offer, which is, to me, what we set out to do.
Absolutely. I mean, you can, the one of the things that's kind of sparked wanting to do this with you beyond just, loving spending time with you. I mean, I feel like we always have a good time when we're, drinking wine together.
Maybe too good of a time.
Yeah, right. Sometimes. But I mean, I've tasted through your Mourvedre and seeing that expression of terroir in each bottle being different is very exciting for me. And that's why I was really stoked up about doing this tasting with you, dude.
Well, we and I say we, I mean, obviously Josh Ritchie was a huge part of this program and a huge part of this vintage. Tony as well. Tony's running the program now. Those guys, we all have this mentality of we haven't made our best bottle of wine yet. We're always going after and pushing the bar, and the stuff we're doing now with the extended maceration and especially on the Rhone stuff is so cool, and we're just going to continue to push the bar and coax out the soulfulness of what the terroir really is, and do it without being heavy-handed, because we want to accentuate the vintage, embrace the vintage, which I think is really important and important to our style.
For sure.
I'm not saying that what somebody else is doing is, as winemakers, we're all everybody else is bullshit. This is what we're doing, and that's the best. For sure. Yeah. but it's important to us and our values is we want to showcase what the vintage is, and unless it's a bad vintage,
then you got to figure something out.
Yeah. And then that's when I mean, I feel like 16 was a challenging vintage, and 17 was our work's done here.
Yeah.
The vineyard, it was all done in the vineyard, and it was a winemaker's dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
16, we had to use every trick in our bag, and we're using co-fermentation techniques and all this other stuff to really bring out some good wines, and we made some good wines in 16, but I think 17 was really such a standout year.
Sweet, man. Well, the La Pradera has been my favorite kind of the last couple of vintages, but I haven't done the full range of the 17 Mourvedre yet, so I'm stoked to get into them. This La Pradera, it's overall the structure on it. I mean, 17, a lot of people who drink a lot of wine from I don't know, other places might look at a red wine and say 17, like that's probably a young vintage, but I'm drinking this and like everything about the structure is just like super well balanced. The acidity's there, it's nice and crisp. Tannin is not like ripping your face off, which is great. It's got this really kind of nice like medium body thing going on. And with the fruit and that, I mean, I personally, Mourvedre is a top like 3 grape for me. I would say like Mourvedre, like Cab Franc, and I don't know, you can maybe throw something else in there. I can't even think of the top of my head what it would be, but I love that blend of fruit and earth. And I think that you guys like to highlight that in your Mourvedre so much. This is why I like go back to y'all's Mourvedre time and time again, because you get a little of the fruit, you get a little of the earth. The structure always seems to be like dead on.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's kind of y'all's, so you kind of touched on it a little bit, your philosophy kind of in the vineyard seems to go, you're not picking for a certain ripeness or a certain pH or whatever the case may be. You're not, maybe you're hoping for a certain amount of hang time, but you're really kind of going out there, picking, tasting, kind of, you guys kind of know your vineyards at this point, so
Absolutely.
you kind of know what you're going to get from a fruit at a certain point that's going to help you out in the cellar. So what would you say is kind of your vineyard philosophy versus your cellar philosophy?
Well, Mourvedre especially, we're really, I think 16 and 17 we really started working on the watering, the conversations we're having and, regarding irrigation and nutrition are totally different, then and now than they were 10 years ago.
Sure.
We're trying to figure it out 10 years ago. And I will say Andy and Dusty over at Lost Straw, they're phenomenal partners and like, nobody dictates to each other like what the way is. Like we sit and talk it out, and obviously Bill's a part of those conversations. Evan, our vineyard manager, is a big part of those conversations, and like we all formulate a plan, and that plan changes sometimes in the middle of the vintage. But we do a lot of post-verasion watering. We really try to slow the vineyard down. Give the vineyard a lot of water, especially during fruit set, and then we kind of hold back the water. We want to slow. We don't want to hedge 6 times. I think that's stupid. And 10 years ago, we're fertilizing, hedging, fertilizing, watering, and then like this vicious cycle. And now we're doing all our work in the vineyard, really slowing the vineyard down and making sure it's balanced, making sure the crop load is balanced. This Mourvedre, is probably 4.5, 5 tons an acre. And at 3 tons or 2 tons an acre, it doesn't look balanced. The canopy kind of takes off. I mean,
really,
we want to make sure we balance that, and I think balance is really the key, because at 6 tons an acre, this doesn't do well.
Sure,
6.5 tons. Some varieties do well. We're at William Chris, we're really big into sustainability, and it's got to work well for the grower too. I mean, so we've like really put a lot of resources into the long-term relationship with Lost Straw and Mourvedre, and when we look at those picking decisions, we water pretty consistently, especially at the very end of the season, and that's in an effort to really manage pH. So we want good acidity. So if the acidity starts falling off, that's when we really step in and make some decisions, like do we need to pick sooner rather than later.
Well, it's definitely here. I mean, it's great, and it's not like that real sharp acidity. It's like this really well integrated acidity.
I would totally agree, and this wine for me is always deceiving because I love the aromatics on it. It's like so pleasant, and that herbaceousness, a little bit of that sage.
The sage is for sure there. Like when you said that, I was like, man, he's right. Like this has that. My wife and I actually just saged our house today. It's like we kind of are in that camp a little bit. We saged the house today, waiting for the baby to come. So I have that like in my head right now. And when I dove into this wine, I was like, oh shit, this smells like my house smells right now.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I love this wine too because it's a little deceiving. Like I can't stop thinking about one of my best friends. Grandmother's. She's like this little sweet rancher lady, but then packs an AK-47 in her trunk, and then Granny Cleary, man. She like, and this wine like reminds me of her because like it's beautiful and elegant, but like she's got depth. Like you don't know what's in the trunk for sure, and like you look at it and you're like, oh, maybe it's a little lighter in color. And it's medium bodied, but the depth in this wine is really significant. So gets me excited, and I'm with you because this is. I love all of our Mourvedres, but this has got a special place in my heart. I'm glad we started with this.
Hell yeah! All right, what's next? We're sticking with La Straw? Or?
Yeah, let's go La Straw.
Because like you said, I think you touched on it. Same people like the Timmons and Andy Timmons and those guys kind of control these vineyard sites. Both of these vineyard sites.
In Mourvedre too, the Paddock family and Dr. Paddock, God rest his soul, he just passed away last year, which was super bummer. But his wife's beautiful, and that's a partnership between Andy and the Paddock family. And man, it's a super cool vineyard, a project that we supported big time. We're one of the largest clients out there, and obviously have a lot to do with a lot of the varieties out there. So
sweet, man. This immediately, like on the nose, smells like more fruit forward on this wine.
This is 100% La Straw Vineyards, and this is like right up off the draw. I want to say it was planted in 05. I think 05 is correct. If Andy sees this, I'm sure he'll correct me.
Right.
But what's crazy, right off the bat, you just get this different aromatic, and you can pick this vintage out. I mean, it's any Mourvedre. You can even pick it out of our blended High Plains Mourvedre. You can tell that there's La Straw in here
for sure.
And maybe it's just because I've been making it since the first, for so many years. It is seriously one of my favorite vineyards, and like it's the little engine that could that just like it's just like I can't help but smile every time I walk in that vineyard and walk through these vines, because it's like we have a little bit of a love affair with them.
Yeah, for sure. This one has more, like the more and more Texas wines I drink, the more I find that the majority of them have this little, it's almost like it's weird to say, but there's this Texas like flavor to certain wines. I think the La Pradera doesn't have it so much, which I think, I don't know why that is. This one has it, and I can never pinpoint what it is, but I love it. It's like, it kind of brings me home. If I'm drinking, like if I haven't had Texas wine in a while and somebody pours me a glass of Texas wine and I drink it, I'm like, man, there's that Texas taste. And I don't know if it's like cherry or some kind of a herb or something, but this one has that kind of like Texas vibe going on with it that I love.
So,
do you get that? Like, do you have
this? I do, and I think that like that kind of component of like, I don't know if you've ever had a burrito or like a Sunkiss, like that citrusy, like orange peel, really, really hits home with me on this. That sage obviously is there. Like, you get a little bit of similarity in the two, and I think you'll see it off the other wines too. Like, you could tell that they're from the same area, and like the High Plains, you can pick these wines out.
Yeah.
The herbaceousness really comes through.
Yeah.
And it's not greenness, it's that kind of just herbal factor that I really, really appreciate.
It might honestly be, and it may be just because it is in varying levels or degrees, but I think that it might be that sage, man. It might be the sage that I'm getting with Texas wines, and it gives me this, like, it takes me to like Marfa for whatever reason. I'm like, because everywhere in Marfa smells like fucking sage. It's incredible. But it might be, but it's like in Italian wines, it's like they all have this rustic cherry, slightly tomato thing to them. And with Texas wines, I'm assuming it's kind of like the sage thing or something that I taste, but I love it.
I feel like the variability in winemaking style, and then again, like, just the variability in terroir is so significant. We have a poker group that would do blind tastings, and like people that have been making wine for a lot of years in Texas, like we can all I would say 85% like pick terroir out, like High Plains. I mean, like, La Straw out of a lineup, Newsom out of a lineup.
Sure.
Like, you can pull those aromatics, and that's like such an argument for terroir. Like, there's no place on earth that tastes like La Straw, and just like you taste Neil's wines too, like good winemakers or bad winemakers, whoever's making it,
you can tell.
Where that wine's from, and you get that kind of those aromatics that you're like, oh no, I know where this is from,
for sure.
Which is such an argument for terroir. And just who wants to cover that up? We want to express that. So.
Well, and speaking of that, and now that we've had two wines that come from a similar area, same vintage, what are they both kind of made along the same? Do you guys have like a Mourvedre program, or do you kind of look to the fruit and just and kind of change things up depending on that.
Absolutely. You know, our Mourvedre program, I'll give you all the secret sauce if you want.
Keep watching, guys.
So we use a little bit of untoasted French oak usually in the fermenter. We do a lot of our fermentations in large oak casks, like 1,300 gallon oak fermenters. We do a little bit of extended maceration on them now. When it used to be, this vintage was a little bit less, maybe 10, 12, 13 days. And then press upon dryness. We're talking pigeage 3 to 5 times a day, usually just by hand, very little pump overs.
Dude, I love pressing by hand.
We don't press by, or punching down.
Punch down, yeah, that's what I meant. Press by, because I mean, you can feel like the fermentation, like temperature differences, and you can feel how the grapes are like starting to break down. I think that, so you guys do these pretty much by hand for your punch down?
Well, if it's in bin, absolutely by hand. Everything in bin is by hand. Like we scrub up to our shoulders and hand punch down, and very much some of these wines were, and then some wines are done in the large oak fermenters, which is by hand with a
punch
tool.
Right. God, that's like a core workout, dude. I love that's a freaking
so we have
workout.
14 oak fermenters. Wow. You talk about a workout,
and those are pretty. I'm sure pretty deep too. So you got to get down there.
And it's really important that we're smelling that fermentation and looking at the temperatures. We like to ferment a bit hot for sure. It's cool now. We're using a little bit more ambient or natural yeast. These were not. But we're even getting more terroir driven in that we're letting these go ambient, and
Sweet.
I think look out for the 19 vintage because there's a lot of cool stuff.
It's gonna be wild.
Yeah.
Sweet, man.
Sure.
Awesome.
And I think the 2020 vintage you'll see even more so.
Really funky stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I love funk, but I mean, like just the terroir is really starting to show, and we're liking it more and more. And I feel like we have so many beautiful fans, and to see to feel the trust, they want something interesting and we want something interesting. And so what's beautiful about that relationship is they trust us, and that's a lot of responsibility. And when we make a wine that's not so great, we sell it to another winery or bulk it out or dump it, and but our fans they're so great because they're like, man, I don't know what they're going to do next, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, dude, that's how I am.
It's an evolution, which makes it fun. So
for sure. All right, well, what's next on the list?
Cool. I want to go back to that lopper there.
Yeah,
that was that last straws. It really opens up too. Okay, so this is Farmhouse. Cool. These guys are awesome. So these are two families that farm together, and I just adore what these guys are doing. Nick Seaton and Anthony Ferguson. Nick's married to Katie Jane Seaton, an old friend of mine. She used to run the Hill Country Winery Symposium. She's a very opinionated, wonderful woman, and I hope she watches this and hears this. I don't think anybody would disagree, but she's awesome. Their family's awesome. They're doing, seriously, these guys are young farmers, are our age, and they're very progressive, and they definitely are on the same value system as we are, which I really appreciate. They're pushing the envelope, and kind of the same protocols with Andy and Dusty. We get in the vineyard, we talk about it, we talk about what's going on, and they're just so good too. I mean, but this is northwest of Brownfield, kind of in Meadow.
Okay. So again, kind of same part of Texas, but not.
Yes.
But what would you say the kind of drive time from if you were leaving Lockport area?
20 minutes, 20 minutes. So this is closer to New Mexico, farther west. Right on, actually I don't even know what that highway, half the highways, they have numbers, but there's no signs.
No, right. And they're all 90 miles an hour because you just gotta go.
But this is a really cool block of fruit, and seriously, these guys do a great job. There's a younger block and an older block in this, and we actually separate those out too.
Okay.
Those guys are just, it's a little bit sandier soil, so the watering is a little bit more tricky. But what they're doing is incredible, and I think that they're right on the same caliber as what Lost Straw is doing. And those guys, I mean, they're both pushing the envelope every year. They're getting better and better, and we're just learning more and more about the vineyard. And they're any harebrained idea Anthony will like try. You know? And that's what I love. Like they have a lot of courage, just like Andy does. Is like, you know, hey, we'll be the first. We'll try it. We'll do this. I mean, they're using a seaweed compound now that it's leading the industry in the high plains. It's elongating the rachis and creating looser clusters. It doesn't give you any more fruit or anything, just creating looser clusters, so you're seeing a lot less.
And that's like almost like a fertilizer, or like a compost.
Yeah, it's like a topical. Yeah, they make it's a foliar spray that's all made out of seaweed and
sweet.
The nutrient compound makes for looser clusters, and it's like night and day. You can see it, and you know, so many of the guys in the high plains, but they were the first to do it with Andy, and like it's so cool to see that.
I'm a big seaweed fan, so I'm for that, man.
But you know, this is a little bit more chalky, a little bit like
it is on the palate. It is for sure. It's a little bit more. There's some minerality in there almost, and definitely a chalkier kind of feel on the tongue for sure. It's funny. It smells like it's going to be kind of a light, fun, fruity wine. Which it definitely is that, but the structure is serious. It's got a serious structure. No, for sure.
Like my friend here that she packs the AK-47 in the trunk.
Yeah.
The AK-47 is up front.
Yeah. You know what's happening with this guy. Ready for a party.
This is the guy at the gym that's like all bulky that you don't make eye contact with. He's ready to. Right. 6 years old, he might beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, this is bringing some serious thunder for sure. Mm-hmm. Did they make their own wine too?
They do.
I think I had a sparkling Mourvedre that they make.
They do. I believe they make it on Mourvedre. I don't know if it's a. Yeah, I know they make a couple of sparkling wines. You know, they're doing some cool stuff. They have a tasting room here in Johnson City, and another one in Brownfield. Which you got to be a brave soul to put a tasting room in Brownfield.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, go get it, and it's really cool if you haven't ever visited.
Sweet.
Sure. Go back to the aromatics of all these, because it's like crazy to. It's really nuts that you can get the same theme, but like the Lastra or the La Pradera or the Lastra has a little bit more like kind of that earthy cranberry and a little bit more orange peel and like.
Dude, hit me with a little bit more of the La Pradera, because I have a hard time not just like finishing a glass of that shit.
Absolutely. No, I'm the same way. I think we're doing 2 glasses of it. That's okay. But what's so cool about, I mean, you can definitely dig that all of them were from similar regions.
Area, yeah.
And I'll give you a criticism of these wines too that one of my mentors, Tony Couturi, gave me. He tasted all of these and he looked at me and he said, "I can tell that you use the same yeast." And we did.
Really?
And it like...
You've been exposed.
Yeah, and, you know, he's like, you want to express terroir so much, and like he kind of like kicked off like potentially take a third or a half or a quarter of that lot and naturally ferment it, do it with ambient yeast to get a little bit more terroir, because you want these to show a little bit more difference, which I totally appreciate. And, and I feel like he's right, and you know, like, and so that kind of gave me the boost of courage. It's not what I wanted to hear, you know. He's like, I like all these, but I can tap, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's why Tony and I like pushed the bar this year and said, hey, we're going to jump out there. We're going to do more ambient yeast, which is a scary proposition coming. You know, we're trucking all this in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, on a truck, and so we've got to be really careful and really clean. So we make sure we don't have any outside yeast. We want the yeast from the vineyard. We want the fruit to ferment it, not some potato yeast that's on the truck.
For sure.
It's a lot of lids, a lot of work, a lot of scrubbing. So,
yes, yeah. I think that a lot of people look to that like native yeast thing as almost like a lazy way of winemaking, but it's like actually it's in fact the opposite. If you want that kind of ambient yeast to do the right thing to your wine, you have to kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't do anything crazy.
So we'll run right in, and this will be an interesting kind of twist to the whole thing.
So while you're pouring that, I wanted to ask too, so we talked about the fermentation process. What is your kind of oak philosophy when it comes to specifically Mourvedre, and does that kind of translate to the rest of the?
Absolutely. For sure, less is more. We used to have 10 different cooperages in our house, which is at least I won't say for everybody. For us, it was mayhem. We weren't being good winemakers. Like you talk about multiple forests, multiple toast levels, and all from multiple cooperages. So 10 cooperages, like say 10 different options.
Sure.
Of course, there's probably 30 different options, and we were only bringing in 4 or 5 of each. But 50 different barrels, and like maybe some of the other winemakers can share in my pain. But like when shit hits the fan and everything's coming down, and it's like we're having to go into barrel quickly. You don't know. You have a plan, but maybe that plan doesn't get executed exactly like you wanted.
Well, I think it was Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're like, how many barrels do we have in there? Fill them all. So we wanted to like reduce the variables, and like if we made a really great wine and the barrel had a lot to do with it, then we want to like reduce those variables and understand why. And so
for sure,
we really in 2016 we really started paring down. I think we're only five cooperages, and really 4 main cooperages, and then we'll bring in 1 or 2 on a small scale, and we'll trial some other people. But and then we only do a few different toasts within that, so we try to keep it really tight. This is only probably 15% new wood in this wine, and all these wines maybe no more than 20%.
Sure.
A lot of Eastern European oak, a lot of like longer, lower temperature toasts, and then all the rest neutral wood. So
you guys are going like Hungarian.
Yeah.
Sweet.
A lot of Hungarian
cool.
and Eastern European
awesome.
wood, and French wood too.
Sure.
And quite frankly, Eastern European wood 10 years ago was a little bit cheaper, and now everybody's kind of figured it out, and then it's slowly risen in price. So
damn economies.
Yeah, and we do a lot of large format as well, like those 1,300 gallon fermenters. We keep them full all year, so a lot of these lots are aged in that as well. So.
Oh, cool. And so that's kind of like it kind of hangs out neutral, and then you can kind of determine if you want to move it around to some new stuff. And,
yeah, absolutely. So, but all these are like I think most of these Rhone wines, I think 12 to 18 months is kind of that sweet spot. I really think 14 to 16 is kind of that sweet spot, and Josh and I really kind of came onto that over the years. Is like, you taste some wine that goes 18, 19 months, and you're like, I wish we would have bottled it like 2 months before. And then same thing, but we're also bottling some Mourvedre in a totally different style, which we taste at one time. The Timmins Estate, we make it in that kind of almost like a road style, like 6, 7, 8 months in large oak fermenter, sometimes a little bit in concrete, and then blend them back together and bottle them and lay them down for a year.
Yeah.
And you're getting this like fresh aromatic wine that's really incredible, that super food friendly.
Yeah.
And, I think the world of that wine too, which if you're into fresh wine,
I'm into all wines. So as long as they're good and they have a sense of a play. I mean, that might get hyped up too much. I'm a big fan of sense of place, but as long as it has some passion behind it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think sense of place is incredibly important. But if you don't have good terroir and you're still trying to make wine, passionately, then I can buy into that too.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing a combination of really all of it. So
thanks, man.
This one has like a noticeably like spicier kind of, and I'm not necessarily saying it's like black pepper, but it's definitely got a little bit more punch to it.
Absolutely. And that's this wine only spent about 13 months in mostly neutral wood. This is kind of our more out in the market wine.
Okay.
And I hate the word entry level because we kind of take that. I don't know how you describe it. I love what Ridge does and a couple other great companies that they have these wines that are really well blended and they put it out in the marketplace. That like we almost blend this wine first, mm-hmm. which is kind of counterintuitive in a way that like you can buy that wine out in the marketplace for $25 or $28, which kills me because all these are beautiful, right. So we do. It's a really fun wine to blend, and we want to like showcase what the High Plains. And so this is a blend of La Straw, La Pradera, Farmhouse, and Buenos Suerte. So four of my favorite vineyards, all put into one, and this is what you can see out in the marketplace. There's tons of restaurants all over the state of Texas, New York, Chicago, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So you can see this out, and I love this wine. Like, I love drinking this wine. Like, it's one of my favorite wines that we make. And it's very expressive of the high plains as well, and that spiciness. There's a little touch more oak in this. So this is maybe 25%. I think that early on those barrels show a little bit spicier, and so I think that's why. If this is your first introduction to Mourvedre and first introduction to William Chris, we want you to get kind of that impact and kind of romance you into some of these other like nuanced wines.
That was good. That was my thought on that as well. Like, this one is very, very good. All of these so far have had that really incredibly well-balanced structure. Some are slightly more powerful than others, but everything's still in line nicely. Nothing is really kind of out of, it's not like one has crazy high tannin and not enough acid. They all just have the perfect like in-balance structure. But I think that this one, like you said, it kind of appeals to, I think, a wider breadth of palates because it has that kind of oaky spice box kind of black peppery kind of quality to it, and then it's like, oh shit, well maybe I should try some of their single vineyards and get more nuance of this one's more herbaceous, this one's fruity or whatever, and you can really, this has been a really, really fun line. I actually had this, I don't think I had the blend until the Halloween party this past year, and you guys had it here, and I was like pounding it, dude. I was like, this is like a chuggable wine right here. Very
much. And I think like with our team, Bill and Josh and Tony and I, like we all like very much decide like we want to drink what we like or make what we like to drink, and we cook a lot here. There's a smoker going on 4 days a week on the Crush Path. So, man. So we make a lot of smoked meats and like this style of wine, like this goes great with quail, goes great with lamb, it goes great with ribs. Like so versatile.
You can run the spectrum with Mourvedre, and specifically like y'all's Mourvedre and the way that y'all have approached Mourvedre. You can really, it's interesting. Okay.
It's also like unlike any Mourvedre on the planet Earth.
I was literally just about to ask you. So a lot of Mourvedre, if you get it like in a blend, like a Vandal, like Mourvedre heavy blend, or like Monastral from Spain, it's usually like you can't like these are light, like very. I think I did a video on Texas Mourvedre back when I first started this channel, and I talked about how we make ours in almost like a Pinot style here in Texas.
Absolutely.
Do you think that that's more us?
Without sounding too cliche, I totally agree with you.
For sure. But do you think that that is us making the wine that way because we feel like that's the best way to make it? Or is it just the way Mourvedre grows in Texas, it lends itself more to a lighter style?
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. It lends itself to a lighter style. We're big fans of like, don't put a square peg in the round hole, embrace the vintage, embrace what that vineyard's going to give you. Like, we try to extract the depth out of these wines, but we're like, we don't wish they were darker.
No,
right?
no.
We're not in here like, man, if we could only add a little mega purple, make
for sure,
a little bit better. We're trying to get our fans to see past all that and like, look, you want to wake up and see her without the makeup, and then still love her personality.
No doubt.
Which is why I married my wife, because I love her in the morning and in the night. So
exactly. You want to spend time with her on Sunday, not just Friday night.
That's right. That's a great way to put it. And I feel like the soulfulness in these wines, and especially like what Mourvedre can do in Texas, and we should have tasted one from the Hill Country too, because we've got some really cool stuff. But what we're able to do is unlike anywhere else on the planet, and that to me like is one of the reasons why I wake up in the morning. It's so cool and so fun to taste, and like we're like scratching the surface, and like it's so cool to me to see there's so many other Mourvedre producers in Texas that are doing such a good job too. That I tasted some the other day, and I'm like, dang man, we got to get on it.
I'm so happy that Mourvedre has been like picked as one of the like all-star grapes of Texas amongst the winemaking community here, because I'm all in on it. I'm a big fan.
Partly out of necessity too. Like in 2013, 2014, arguably some really tough vintages in Texas. we were still making 3.5-4 tons an acre of some really good fruit. And it's kind of like, if you want to make great wine every year, like pick the varieties that work better for Texas. I mean, like, we'll see what happens this year. I mean, maybe Mourvedre got a little hurt from the winter. We'll see. I mean, we'll see in a couple months what it's like. So, but yeah, it's the jury's still out. But I think, pound for pound over the last decade, I'll put my money on Mourvedre, and we should definitely jump into that 2012.
Which glass which glass will the aromatics that were left in it not mess up the 2012?
Maybe we'll do a little winemaker rinse. How's that sound?
All right.
I don't know. I hope I didn't overpromise and underdeliver, but the last time I had this wine, which is about 3 months ago, I was like, what?
So far, I'm really digging the kind of hazy quality going on.
Well, I mean, still to this day, our wines are either not or very, very lightly filtered, and almost all of our red wines are like that, just barely touched in, very minimum sulfites, and that hasn't changed since day one. I mean, we want this wine to be a living, breathing thing.
I'm sorry, man. Were you saying something?
Yeah, I'm with you.
My eyes are starting to kind of like
well up.
My God.
This vintage is the kind of the breakout vintage that I knew that Mourvedre, and I got to give my hat off to Joe Farley. He's a dirty barrel salesman, but I was like at my wits end in 2011 or I think 2010. We made varietal Mourvedre, and it was okay. It wasn't anything to shake a stick at, and like, we weren't holding color. We're kind of like just it was kind of a wimpy wine, and he kind of gave me some tips, using some untoasted French oak in the fermenter, which really kind of like, and I hope everybody in Texas does that, because it's a great tool, and it really just helps lock in color and lock in structure. But he kind of like tipped the scales for me, and like, because I was like devastated that Mourvedre, I thought it was going to be the grape for Texas, and then in 2012 when I tasted this wine, I was like, oh man, it is.
Yeah, right.
And so we're putting all our eggs in that basket.
Oh man.
And this is 100% lost rock too, so you can kind of see the difference in the 17 and the 12. It doesn't say it on the front, but it was when we used to put it on the back.
Yeah, and this was back before y'all had gone to the varietally bottled situation.
Yeah.
Was everything pretty much put in this like shape of bottle back then?
I mean, it was probably, thinking back then, like wherever we could get glass, like affordable, and we had, you got to figure it out over the years, and now we're totally committed to this really pain in the ass bottle that doesn't fit.
I know it is. It's a pain in the ass to like stack in my my cellar, in my office that I have wine stacked up in. It's a pain in the ass, but I love it. It's like I love those bottles that have that nice long slender neck and that big fat body to them.
I love it too.
No, it's fantastic. So the thing that jumps out at me immediately after, so the nose is insane, but the thing that jumps out to me immediately about the structure is you still are maintaining an incredible amount of acidity with this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had a lot of 2012 was kind of the first vintage that I started kind of stockpiling Texas wines, because I had some stuff, like some really, really good stuff from 2012, and just off the top, like Lewis had a Cab Franc from Newsom in 2012.
Yeah,
like
freaking still drinking, by the way.
Dude, insane.
Yeah.
And there, but I have had others that the acidity is starting to kind of taper off a little bit, and this is still maintaining. Like, I mean,
grippy.
It might be just as much, if not more so, than some of these other ones. I mean, it's insane how this 12 is like continue to hold that acidity.
Frankly, I pulled it was upside down. Obviously I just pulled it from the library an hour ago, and like flipped it upside down. So I think the sediment would have set it a little bit better.
I love the sediment, man.
This wine was quite literally, it probably racked once, and back then we didn't even have a tank. We just had a tote, so it would like we'd take the wine out of barrel and put it in a tote for like, or maybe multiple totes, and then bottle out of those totes like the next day. And then like our winemaking, I mean the cork, we should probably, the cork I bet has.
Oh, I didn't even see when you pulled the cork.
I bet it has a punch mark on the top still.
Is that one way back over there?
Yeah, you can see where this is a hand bottled, like with the old hand crank. You see that?
Right there?
Yeah, and then...
Whoa, okay. Let me see if I can.
That was back in the day when it was hand crunch, hand crank.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we don't do that anymore. Yeah.
That is... Damn, the color on that thing is rowdy.
Yeah. I think honestly this wine probably has maybe another 5 years left in it.
Easily. Easily.
Yeah, I mean, not all of our wines are 10-year wines either, but I bet this has 5 years left in it.
All right, so while we're sipping on this beautiful 2012 vintage, it's actually a really nice segue into my final serious question for you, which is, where do you kind of, and it's a very political question, so get ready. Where do you look, when you see the Texas wine industry right now, and where it is on kind of like a let's just say national scale, global scale is a little bit far-flung, but on a national scale, where are you looking at Texas wine right now, and what do you think that the Texas wine industry kind of needs to do because in my opinion, I think that Texas wine does not, and I know I have a little bit of bias towards it, as you probably do as well.
No, come on.
I have a little bit of bias, and I think that I don't want to sound like a kid who's kind of pouting, but I think that the Texas wine industry does not get the kind of due credit that it deserves. So where do you see us right now, and what do you think that we need to continue doing or do differently to kind of get on that kind of in that conversation with California, Oregon, Washington?
Sure. On a national scale, I mean, I think we're doing a lot of the right things. We sell wine in New York and Chicago, and not a lot either. I mean, but we're breaking in that market, and I cannot wait for the day that, Lost Straw Cellars is doing a great job in New York, and I can't wait for the day that Lost Straw and William Chris and 5 of my other buddies are coming up to Slaying Wine in New York and Slaying Wine in Chicago. We've got to make better wine. There's no doubt about it. We've got to grow better grapes.
Keep pushing.
We've got to grow better grapes. We've got to make better wine, and we have to talk about our terroir more. People that are making authentic, heartfelt wines will win. And I think that there's the more of our neighbors that we can lift up and help them make better wine and help them connect with growers. I mean, you go up and down this road 290, and there's more and more amazing wineries like Ab Astros that are starting, that are doing really cool stuff. They know, they know where their grapes come from. They visit their vineyards. Like, they're doing a great job. They're farming grapes. They are adding to the industry. And then there's other wineries that have no idea where their wine comes from. They're getting it all made somewhere. They don't even know where their fruit comes from. They have
Texas or otherwise.
Yeah, you ask them where their wine comes from. What vineyard was this grown? Oh, High Plains, or they're like, I don't know. Like, we just got it bottled and put our label on it. And again, like, it's not that they're bad people. It's just like, we could be doing so much better, and those businesses are not adding to the Texas wine industry. Yeah. They're not adding anything, and we have got to do our job and offer a leg up to those people and say an arm and say, hey, how can we help you? Like, there's so many great growers out there that are doing a good job. Hell, there's growers out there that I don't even know. Yeah. We just got back from the symposium, and like, there's so many great growers that you don't even know, like, you didn't even know that they existed. And I say they're great growers. I don't know if they're great growers or not, but
they're out there. So there's no reason why Texas wineries should be finding, like, they can't get to know.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity to farm grapes even here in the Hill Country that are wonderful, and we've got to be able to get better at farming those grapes, make better wine, and also like get better at sharing terroir. I mean, like, the field has changed. It's getting a lot more competitive in Texas. Like, 10 years ago, like there wasn't very many of us, and now there's a winery popping up every other day, and we've got to get more competitive in the marketplace too, which means we've got to get more efficient and got better quality for less price.
Yeah.
We've got to get better as a whole state to make that impact, and we've got to have the courage to like look at the long game. Like, why are we doing this? Like, unfortunately, some wineries get started because somebody gets home from France or Italy and goes, I want to start a winery, and then they go buy some property, and then they go, okay, we're going to build this beautiful tasting room, and then like, then they build a bar, and then they design a label, and they're like, what do we? Oh, we got to get some
grapes.
No, they don't even know. We
got to get somebody to bring some juice in here to put in these bottles.
Yeah. And so we've got to change that mentality and put the farming first, and then introduce people, because we have a gift. And I have been to every single wine region with the exception of Mexico, from quite literally the northern part of the United States all the way down through Patagonia, like every single one. And not anywhere, and I've been not everywhere in Europe by any means, but a lot of places in Europe, and nobody has what we have. We're like Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, or DFW, like all those folks are four of the largest cities in the United States that are within 3 hours, and they all want to come here and they all want to taste what we have. They want to pay us money to have us talk about where our wine comes from. Like, that's a gift.
Yeah.
And we should not squander it. And that enables us to talk about varieties like Mourvedre and talk about varieties like Tannat and Sangiovese that people might not know about. And we have a gift, and we can't squander that gift. I had somebody that came in the other day, like, man, I came in from Maine, and like, there were, some tour company took them to taste South African wine, and then they tasted some other wine for, like, they were like, yeah, none of the wines were even from Texas. We came here to taste Texas wine, and it was so disappointing. And then they were like, if we wouldn't have come to your place, we would have thought Texas wine was shit. And why would we even come here to taste these other people's wine? And again, nothing against those business models, but it's like, what are we adding? You're not adding anything to the industry. We're fighting tooth and nail. We got dirt on our fingernails. We have 62 families here that are William Chris Wine Company, and 27 families that grow for us that employ well over 400 people. Yeah. Like, we are making a dent in the economy. We're making the world a better place. And if we had more folks like that raising the bar and pushing the bar, and all could do better together, then we'd ultimately be a better state and a better industry, and we'll get there. We're not going to stop, man. I mean, we'll get there, and I just want to shine our light bright to other companies that, like, hey, like, we can do this all together. It's not me versus you or us versus them. Like, guys on wine, we're all fighting for the same thing. Like, you look at California West Coast wineries, like, we're taking food off their plate. They don't want us to exist, right?
Right, yeah,
like,
for sure.
And then they're doing a great job, and so we've got to be able to compete against them, and get folks in here to spread our message and say, hey, look at what we're doing. Yeah. You taste this is real deal wine. Yeah. And we'll go.
We're not fucking around here.
We'll go pound for pound with anybody in the world, and there's more and more wineries that are behind us doing a great job, and if we can help spread that word and help the people that want to get help and not just are out, they don't, there's folks that don't have a vision. Yeah. Like, we want to make the world a better place. We want to have a great place for people to work, and we want to share with people what Texas tastes like, and that's our vision. That's our goal. So.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. Sorry, my soapbox.
No, dude. Honestly, you can't ask for a better answer to that question than that, man.
Well, it was a long, drawn out answer, and for that we really need 100% Texas grown wine, or at least the ability right now. If you look at a label, you can only if a wine says Texas on it, which all these have. Vineyard designation, so that they're 85% in AVA. I think ultimately you'll see some more sub-AVAs come out of the high plains. You definitely need to see some more sub-AVAs come out of the hill country. But we've got to get our labeling laws tightened up.
Tightened up for sure. No question about it.
Everybody's dude. I think it's funny that the other day somebody said, like, what if we have a bad vintage and blah 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 blah? Like, what if we can't make it in the marketplace? And I'm like, you look at the Nielsen ratings, like Texas wine as a state is like, we're tied for last with like North Carolina on average bottle price on a shelf. It's like, how can it get any worse?
Yeah, no
we
doubt.
we gotta get better. We gotta, Oregon, who has the tightest labeling laws in the country.
Dude, they're crushing it. They're crushing it. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's very, that's definitely the one that I would look to for sure. Is that labeling? That labeling is paramount.
Yeah. But the fans will decide. I mean, like
that's the thing, yeah. Because you put what's in the bottle on the label, and people are going to decide what they want to drink. You know, as opposed to trying to trick people into thinking that you're providing something that comes from someplace that it may or may not. You know?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Last question for you.
Shoot.
Not a serious one. So, what other than our beautiful, incredible Texas wines? What are you drinking right now?
Oh. Gosh, there's so much good stuff. Well, I'm sure it's no.
And it can be anything. It can be wine, beer, shit. I'm like hardcore into tea right now, man.
I know.
Dude,
Well, I've been meaning to give you shit because like you haven't shown moringa leaf tea on your and I've been moringa leaf tea.
Dude, I've been drinking tea for a bit, but like loose leaf tea. But I'm like starting to like deep dive into it, and it's gonna become like wine buying for me because I've already started to spend some money on it. Catherine, I hope you're not watching.
Please get with me because like we were just at lunch at Vaudeville and my guys were like, "You drinking golden monkey tea?" I mean, like I drink all this weird shit, but moringa leaf is one of my favorites.
All right, I'm gonna have to look into moringa leaf.
Yeah.
So is that what you're? What,
no, I would say
on?
I'm always drinking Beaujolais, and that's kind of like where I'm. What I've been drinking a lot. I just got back from the Finger Lakes a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And everybody, told me like, and it was my first trip up there. They're like, "Man, you're gonna get tired of
Riesling and
Riesling." I drank that shit when I got off the plane, and I didn't stop till I got back on the plane. And I sent so much of it home, and I'm still not tired of it.
Yeah.
Like those guys up there are crushing it. Man, there's so many guys that are doing such a good job up there, and the price points are killer. Like, I consider ourselves lucky that we don't have to go toe for toe with them, like in Texas, because they
varietal likewise.
Well, we were polar opposite. I mean, like they're coming up with their Cab Franc, being like, "What do you think?" But they're Riesling Gewürz, man. They're Pinot Blanc. I mean, like. Man.
Dude, Pinot Blanc, I'm a big fan of Pinot Blanc.
But they're Riesling, I mean, stuff they were fermenting. Like there's probably 5.
So that's the spot right now? Finger Lakes?
I sure love it. Sure. And I would go, we went and it was like cold as shit. And it's kind of funny.
You're not thinking like white wine, right?
Well, and the taste rooms are totally different. They're like totally different from Texas. You walk in and like $5 for 5 tastes. And you're like, "Hi, I'm Chris."
Yeah. let's get to know each other.
But the owners were great. The farmers were great. I love it to death. I love Oregon so much. Like going up there, like what they're doing, and the heart and the wines are so great. Chilean wine I think is really rocking right now too.
All right, well, I guess that's probably gonna do it for us, man. So, guys, really appreciate you tuning in.
If you watched this whole thing, then thank you.
Yeah, if you've made it to the end of this, like, I feel like we're basically doing a Joe Rogan podcast here. It's been like 3 hours. Like, what are we?
We're gonna roll.
Cool, man. Well, thank you very much for being here with me. I appreciate
you very much, man.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. Like Chris said, if you made it to the end of this, you're troopers, and we'll keep doing some good Texas stuff the rest of this month. So.
Hey, also before we cut off, if you ever get a chance to make it out to William Chris Vineyards, please make a reservation. We have an amazing tasting experience. We have some incredible elevated experiences going on, barrel tastings, food and wine pairings, high estate wine tastings. You can do some really cool stuff. Check us out at WilliamChrisWines.com. So,
my man.
Yeah, thanks. And enjoy Sway.
Shotgun it.
Yeah.
Just drink it. You don't have to go crazy with it, but you can go crazy.
It is pretty delicious. I'll put it pound for pound against anybody. So.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here with us again. We'll catch you on the next episode. Later.